Hey, thanks for tuning in. Normally I don't narrate an entire tutorial, but this time I found it necessary to do so. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that most of them start the same, with the same types of materials. And part of that is because I'm trying to come up with different ways to use the same materials, so I'm not always outspending art supplies. I'm trying to get better and better with the supplies that I have. So you see the instructions there. This whole tutorial is going to be about embedding photocopies. So I took a sketch from my sketchbook and just put it on a copy machine and reduced it down and then cut it out. And I'm just using regular 20-pound weight paper, bought it at Walmart. And I have some lovely Italian script from an old document. I made a photocopy of that too. I also thought I'd include the products that I'm using for the Encaustic medium, which I bought on Amazon. You could also buy them from R&F and a few other places. So here, after the board's been prepped with encaustic gesso, I am just laying down the medium here and always remembering to fuse well between each layer. After I'm sure that layer is fused, I'm going to take the photocopy of that amazing Italian script and I'm just going to press it down onto the wax while the encaustic's still warm. Not too soft, but warm. I regret not using Yes Paste. You see it there. Normally I'd put a layer of Yes Paste underneath it, and I should have done that. Note to self. You're going to see why in a few moments. I wish I would have used it. So take note of that. And then in this process here, I am going to just place 3 total layers of encaustic over the script, and I'm going to fuse in between each layer. It's funny, looking back on this piece, this is about the only part that seemed to go really well. But I thought it was important to include, not just those perfect pieces that we're in love with, but even the ones where there's struggle. Sometimes it's just more about the process and the learning involved than about the final product. Okay, so the 3 layers are just about complete here before I take the photocopy of my sketch and press it onto the warm encaustic. After I do this, even though I forgot to hit the record button, I put 2 more encaustic layers over the top of the entire piece. I'm actually like the way the tissue paper birds turned out better than the photocopy, but my attempt here is to put the birds in at different layers so it looks like they are flying away and representing just kind of her thoughts that are drifting off there. So it was a painstaking process, but it worked. It just took a long time. This is where the tissue paper, these were a lot easier to lay down than the photocopies, but it works. So my feather stamp didn't quite have the detail I had hoped for, but I'm going to make it work. So just going to incise a little bit around some of the birds and also around the figure. Once the incising is complete, I decided to try out a new product. Usually I use R&F oil paint sticks. I think you can use any kind of oil paint. Tried something a little bit different here. You have to shave off, if you haven't used it before, you have to kind of shave off the top layer because it continues to kind of dry. But I like these for other things. It didn't work quite as well as I had hoped with this, but I'm going to apply it over all the areas where there's incising before I begin to wipe it off, so I get a nice outline going on there. Part of my struggle with using this type of oil paint stick was that I had to rub really hard to get the excess off of the piece. So that was a bit of a struggle. I ended up using some cooking oil, coconut cooking oil. You can use linseed oil to get the excess off, but I really had to work at it for quite a while here until I got the excess off as much as I wanted it. If you've watched many of my other encaustic videos, you know how much I love pan pastels. So I'm going to take a few of the ones that are in the earth and rust set and then just add a little bit of color to the top that she's wearing and the hat, top and the hat. I'm not going to do the flesh or anything else, and I'm going to keep everything with those nice earth tones. If you've worked with pan pastel and encaustic, it takes a few layers, to kind of really feel like it's starting to blend together a little bit. And then once you lay your color down, you do want to lightly fuse the pan pastel so that it actually kind of gets embedded into the encaustic medium. So all in all, I did learn a lot. I hope that you did as well. There are different elements of this that I enjoyed. Maybe not as thrilled with, again, the overall product. I did try to do some other embedded photocopy pieces. You can see this one here. The woman was a photocopy and that same piece of script. And then I did a little extra work with incising and a stamp. But I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you'll share it with others.